Mickey Dickey here. One of the things I keep continuing to hear, and not just from this gentleman, because he brings up a statement in here that multiple people are calling for Americans to run out of money by January 1st. Now, I wish people wouldn't use language like this, but I know they're trying to get clicks and they're trying to get people to come to their website, all that kind of good stuff. And it sounds like we're just going to be literally out of money by January 1st. And that's not what anyone is actually saying. And if anyone is actually saying that, I mean, seriously, let's use our brain for a minute. We're not going to run out of money. And what most of them are talking about is running out of money from the government from the pandemic, which if we talked about in multiple different videos, most of that money's been gone for years. I'm probably exaggerating a little bit, but most people have spent that money a long time ago. The people who still have the money are people who are over $100,000 and higher. It's the people that didn't need the money in the first place. But I want you to listen to this video because what bothers me about this is that we don't discuss the actual facts and reality. We just put these headlines out there and just expect people to take what we're saying for truth. Because the actual truth is that we're not going to run out of money in the beginning of January. We're not going to run out of money anytime soon.
Various sources are predicting when Americans will run out of money. We're talking about everyday Americans. We're not talking about rich Americans. So I'm going to tell you what they're saying, but if you could please be so kind and chime in on what you think, what you predict. Let me know in the comments down below. And please take a look at what other people are saying as well. So the Market Live Pulse survey shows that the expectation is that Americans will run out of money in Q1 of 2024.
Okay. Now he puts this wonderful chart up here. But what does the chart actually say? It doesn't say they're going to run out of money in January. It says that the consumption will turn negative in the first quarter. Now, what does that actually mean? What that means is that its consumption year over year is going to be down year over year. That doesn't mean they're going to be out of money. It just means they're not going to spend more next year than this year. Now, again, think about that for a second. It's a completely different animal than running out of money, than turning negative quarter over quarter, year over year. And yet he's not saying that here. He's saying we're going to run out of money. And he puts up a post here that says completely the opposite. Again, not the opposite, but has literally nothing to do with what he's saying.
So that's when U.S. consumption is expected to turn negative. That's what 56% of respondents expect. However, 21% of respondents believe that Americans will run out of money sooner.
Again, doesn't say run out of money sooner. It says that it will turn negative sooner. And I'm here to tell you, there are many people who have already done this. It's already turned negative for different groups, different income sections, different people with different debt structures. If you have people who are just now starting to repay their student loans, I'm telling you, their consumption's already gone down because they've got to start paying the student loans back, but they haven't been before. Again, this is nothing new here. This is nothing that should be shocking the industry or shocking people listening to the news. And again, this is actually from September 4th, but regardless, it's nothing that's going to break the bank.
They're saying that it will happen before the end of the year. Now, you're probably aware of what the Federal Reserve Bank of San Francisco said. They issued their opinion a few weeks ago. They said that their expectation is that Americans will finally run out of money in October.
And they tell you this about every quarter, which again, are they saying they're going to run out of money or they're going to spend less year over year? Because neither one has happened yet. Now, I'm not saying it won't happen. I'm not saying that the entire economy will stop spending, but I'm just telling you at the moment, we haven't gone negative. So, and we're in October. Could be wrong, but that's what they said was going to happen, didn't happen. They've been telling us we're going to have a recession for 2 years now. Still hasn't happened.
However, if that does happen, then we will not get confirmation of that in the U.S. consumption data until after October ends. The Federal Reserve Bank of San Francisco says that Americans will run out of their excess pandemic savings.
And again, we've already talked about this. We have already gone through it. Anyone that's going to go through it, anyone who hasn't gone through it at this point isn't ever probably going to go through their pandemic savings. So I don't know why we're talking about this. And again, this is not an issue. If you still got pandemic money, you're one of the top 20% or more in the United States. That we're not having this discussion about you. You don't count when we start talking about people running out of money or consuming less year over year. Because generally speaking, if you're in the top 20% of the country, as far as income is concerned, none of this matters to you.
So in plain English, the Federal Reserve, Bank of San Francisco, believes that people are finally going to run out of their stimulus money right around now.
Again, already happened. Which again, my problem with this isn't what he's saying, okay? Because what he's saying are two different things. His tagline is they're going to run out of money. We're not running out of money. Then he starts talking about running out of PPP money. Okay, different animal than people running out of money. There's also a different animal about people running out their consumption year over year is less than 1 year over year. Again, what that's saying is that last year, maybe you spent $10,000 throughout the course of the year on food, clothing, and everything else. And this year, you might only spend $999. That's a decrease. That's not running out of money. And it's tags like this that bother me because it's designed to freak out people and make people feel like the economy's worse than it is. Now, what I want to show you here is what other people think. And he's talking about other, people saying certain things. Well,
by the way, you know that Thursday, Surratt, marks the alleged bottom, a year from October of 22. Paul Tudor Jones on Squawk. Recession likely.
Now you noticed that this gentleman just said the alleged bottom of the market. Now, I don't know how long you want to go back and look at things, and which is why I'm not big on labeling things, okay? This is a bottom, this is a top, this is okay, just stop it. Okay, we're making stuff up just to fill time, all right? And this guy does it more than most. So we're going to keep going with this video, but this gentleman irks me, and most of you see my videos, you know how I feel about this guy.
Stock market will decline about 12%. That's what he offered up today. I mean, I listen to him when he's on because he makes some really great points every time he's on.
So you have this on here who comes up and says, hey, the U.S. might be in the worst or weakest financial position since World War II. Really? By what data? Don't just say it. Come up with something. Give me some statistics. Give me some meat along with just you coming out here going and trying to make some headlines and get people to come to your website. It makes no sense to me. How is it possible that we have the weakest financial position since WW2? Not saying we don't, but give me some statistics. Don't just throw it out there. Then he says recession's likely. Well, again, we've been saying that for 2 frickin' years, and stocks may decline by 12%. Sure, they might decline by 12% at any point. What's new here? Again, why would it decline by 12%? Why is a recession likely? Don't just give me the numbers. Give me some meat behind this stuff. Tell me what you're actually thinking behind this, rather than just making statements that things might possibly could be. Because then you can just fall back and go, well, I said might. I said they possibly. Said it could happen. Well, again, anything could happen. Show me why. Give me the statistics behind it. Because the problems I have with everybody, they don't come up with this stuff. And yes, we have $1 trillion in credit card debt, but as a percentage of income, it's actually lower than it was pre-pandemic. You don't hear that, do you?
What about this idea, though? I mean, recession likely, stocks may decline about 12%.
Yeah, if you look at the market weighted, maybe that happens. But if you look equal weighted, there's a lot of opportunity. We were just talking about the small caps and the mid caps. So there's plenty of opportunity at 490 of the 3 stocks. And if you get multiple compression, and we're right that advertising slows down, and you get some multiple compression on the big stocks, you still have other places to play. And that's why being in the index is going to be tough. But you can play around the edges, and I think you can do well.
But he's been negative this year, hasn't he? I think that for most of this year, he's been negative.
He's obviously an astute enough investor.
So here's somebody who actually questions him and says that this gentleman who said, the recession and all that stuff, World War II, and she said, well, he's been negative all year. And he goes, yeah, well, but. No, there's no yeah, but. It's the fact. He's been negative about it. He's been calling for a recession. He's been calling for this stuff for 2 years, and it's never that. Again, it's the boy who cried wolf. At some point, he's going to be right, but that doesn't make it any less credible or more credible. Just because he calls it for 2 years, and eventually he's right. But what it means is that for 2 years he's been wrong, and he got it right for 1 day out of 300, call it even 700 days. Again, I don't understand why we give this credibility.
Investor that If he sees something different, he'll call it differently.
Yeah, but the
Here's
recession.
what he's been. A lot of people were.
I understand, but the recession call is one that many people have made from the beginning of the year, the end of last year, and it hasn't happened. And the likelihood seemed higher over the past couple of months, and now it's coming back down, perhaps again if we don't get another rate hike. So, it's
why do we get the recession, right? Are we getting the recession because the Fed went?
Again, I want you to listen to what this guy's saying, because he's actually giving you the whys rather than just coming out with blanket statements.
Too strong, or are we getting it because we have a demand issue, right? And so I think that's where we have to kind of say, if it's the first, then, you could be down 12%. And the other side.
I don't think it is.
I'll only bring it up because, again, you're 2 days away from the 1-year anniversary, Jim, of the October bottom, in an environment where, not everybody is on the same page suggesting, well, we're good and we're going to have a soft landing. There are, a number of people who still think, well, that was a bottom. Probably wasn't the bottom, because this whole thing has not been a new bull market. It's been a bear market bounce.
So once again, we have a bear market bounce that lasts a year. Again, show me the data and the credibility behind that. Now, if you want to tell me that a year ago in the June to July timeframe where the market went up and after it had gone down drastically, the NASDAQ was down 35% and came back to only being down 8% in 2 months. And then it dropped back from August 15th down to the bottom here in October. That was a bear market bounce. I can buy into that because it's a short term. But if you're talking about a year later and now the market may end up going back down, again, where's your data? What's your specific information to actually call that a bear market bounce? Because the bear market bounces, in my opinion, don't last almost a year. Again, I could be wrong because it's basically gone from the lows pretty much all the way up. I mean, there was a little bit of a lull, but again, nothing goes straight line anything. So it's been almost, if you track it, it looks like it's a normal I'm not going to use the term bear or bull. It's been pretty much a straight line, a normal indicator up since that time.
So
there's a lot of voices on that.
Yeah. So let's start with this. I'm glad there is a wide array of thoughts. I worry when everybody's on the same page, which, by the way, at the beginning of this year, everybody, I mean, remember how many people had their models saying 100% chance of recession? That's ridiculous. Anybody who walks in your office and says they're 100% certain of anything in the future, just throw them out of your office. But back to the bigger point, go back a year ago, right? If a year ago, any of us said that we're not going to be in a recession, any of us besides me, sorry, I am going to pass.
Now, Jim, I'm going to agree with you. You said it, I said it, but I actually gave statistics, as did you, as to why I didn't think we would be in a recession a year from now and why I thought the market would recover. And those of you who've seen my videos, you know I did. And mine were all backed upon data with statistics based upon inflation and how the inflation was going to moderate and the specific areas inflation was going to moderate, mainly due to oil, and why I think going forward we have a potential to not have a recession. But more importantly, where I think we might end up going is more, again, if you want to call it a recession, that's fine. I think it's more of a slowdown than an actual recession. I do think you're going to see real estate rollover. I think unemployment's going to increase, and I think people are going to slow down on savings. But it's for a short period of time. Not for a decade, not for 10 or 12 years. I think you're going to see people have to work through some of this stuff. They're going to have to work through the fact that interest rates are higher, work through the fact that they've got student loans, and I think they will get through it. It's just going to take a little bit of time to get there. But I also don't think it's going to probably happen until at least the first of the year because no one does it before Christmas. And yes, they probably are going to borrow on their credit cards to find the way to get through. But eventually they'll figure their way through all of this.
Pat myself on the back on this. Any of us said we're not going to be in a recession a year from now. I'm going to pat you too.
Don't hurt yourself.
But no, people are punching me in the face on this, right? I mean, here's the thing. That decline last year was predicated on a recession this year that simply didn't happen. So the market should be up. And as we look at the economy right now, I'll pick a statistic that matters to me. 200,000 for weekly jobless claims. This economy is not close to recession. As for the risks, then, of course, I respect Mr. Tudor Jones, but we could take a look at, resumption of student loan payments or inflation or whatever. There are always risks, folks. You've got to ask what's priced in the market. The market's a lot cheaper than it was 2 months ago. And it's not priced into this market still is the possibility that we have a nice soft landing and just keep growing our economy.
And that's where I want to stop it here because this is exactly what I've been saying all along. What is not priced into this market is the economy just continuing to progress. Again, it doesn't have to be flaming hot. It doesn't have to be steaming cold. I mean, it doesn't have to be any of those things. It can be doing what it's doing right now, and that is just progressing, which is what Powell's been trying to do. Now, again, there's no exact model for this, guys. But he's been trying to get the economy to cool off, spend less, without wrecking the employment. This is where we're at. This is what we've got. We've done exactly what he wanted to do. If you want to call it Goldilocks, whatever you want to call it. But no one seems to want to get behind the fact that the market is cheap, that basically 493 stocks are dead even on the year on the S&P, with 7 of them being up, which means that there's a lot of room to grow, not just in the indexes, because, if 493 stocks decide to grow and the 7 don't, I'm sorry, the index is still going to go up. And I don't think you're going to see the 7 totally go away if the other 493 go up. I don't think they're mutually exclusive entities. I do think you're going to see a broadening. I do think you're going to see some things going around. But when people say that the economy's, it's just not there. If we start seeing a situation where we get up to 6, 7, 8% unemployment, then I'll be worried about it a little bit. But at this point, there are no statistics. There's nothing for me to sit back and say that the American consumer is going to run out of money. Again, does that mean their consumption isn't going to go down first half of next year? It probably will, but that's just them getting used to the new norm. And once they get set up for the new norm, it's going to be different. But I think they're already there. I think you have a whole section of people making less than probably $80,000 a year that are already in this boat. And again, it's not that they're out of money. They're just in a different spending mode. And until they get things figured out and get used to the new norm, we might see some decreasing in consumption. But again, that's not the American consumer running out of money. And again, I wish the people on the media wouldn't do it the way that they do it. I like the way Jim does it. I've always liked his analysis on things. And yes, he and I are both more bullish on everything usually, but he at least comes back with things that actually make sense rather than just spouting off things like, things are the worst that they've been since WW2. I mean, come on, get a grip, people. Stop going for the taglines. Start giving me some meat. That's what I want to hear. I want to know what's really going on. And, honestly, the things that have happened, what Jim's talked about, are exactly true. We're far closer to having no recession than we are to having a recession. That's what the data actually tells us. Now, again, data might change Thursday, but the data we have right now all says that, which is why you're seeing what you're seeing in the stock market. It is trying to bottom. We did get interest rates to the peak. Now, again, are they going to go back up there? They might, but does that mean they're going to go up to 13% like the idiot said a couple of weeks ago? No, doesn't mean that at all. Now, again, can it happen? Sure. Anything can happen. But let's stop dealing with the can happens and, start dealing with what reality really is. And this is what we really know. The American consumer is continuing to consume. And if it does happen to go down, instead of consuming, again, instead of doing 10,000 next year, maybe only do 9,999. Again, that's a deduction, but it's still very similar. So again, I'm just not that concerned about it until I start seeing data the other way. And until you start seeing data the other way, why are we worried about it? Just don't get it. So talk to your financial advisor, make sure your portfolio is set up where you need it to be. Dickie out.